Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Jess Marshall podcast. I'm your guide, Jess Marshall, and this week I've got the distinct honor of having on Steve Gern with Veteran Restoration. Steve is United States Marine Core Veteran, and he's also in the insurance restoration business, so we're going to chop it up about entrepreneurship, building teams, fighting through adversity, and the whole nine yards. Hope you enjoy the episode. Being on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries.
Good to meet you face to face. It's cool that we're kind of both in similar, work, vocation, helping people put their properties back together when they're ravaged by fires and tornadoes and stuff like that. How'd you end up getting into restoration?
Well, from the get-go, I've always been, into putting things back together, houses, so on and so forth. Growing up, my father, that's what we did. He built houses, did kitchens, bathrooms, and everything else. So it's something I was always into. In 2014, we got evacuated from Iraq because of ISIS. And during the evacuation, because of course they didn't want to know Benghazi, but during the evacuation, we thought we were going to be, maybe 30 days, 40 days out of country, and we're going to go back to country. Well, that didn't happen. So we were stuck at home. And during that time, I was like, I need to start a company, because there was no revenue coming in. I was living off savings, so on and so forth, and sitting in my pool drinking beers every day just wasn't doing it. So finally I just said, you know what, I'm going to start a company. So I started a company, which was a property preservation company. And some of the biggest challenges I had with that property preservation company was the people, actually getting people to go to work and not sitting down while they're on the job. And then all of a sudden, property management companies, they're calling you going, hey, you need to go back out and do this, you need to go back out and do that, because it wasn't done. So shortly after that, once I started the company, I had gone to Afghanistan. I got a contract over in Afghanistan as a project manager to run a DEA camp over in Afghanistan. So I had an ops manager that was here back in the States running everything, and I was in Afghanistan doing my thing. Still being able to run the company, but the shortcomings were people. And I just started getting frustrated with it. So I started doing a transition from doing property preservation to looking into the mitigation side of it. And shortly after that, in 2017, obviously, when I came back from Iraq for good, I completely revamped the company to be a mitigation company. One of the biggest reasons why I did that is because your equipment don't show up drunk.
Yeah.
It always runs. If it doesn't, you replace it, and it's usually, you don't usually have that issue.
Yeah.
You do your proper maintenance, and you don't have to worry about it.
You don't have to drug test dryers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, kind of like my transition at that point was to transition away from actually having employees and having people that you had to depend on, because that's where we are lacking.
Yeah.
Is depending on somebody to show up and not be drunk, not talk to a customer like an idiot.
Right.
So that's kind of why I made the transition into mitigation. And obviously, when you really look at it and you start getting involved in it, you really see how much the profit margins are. Now, is it something I wanted to do, as in, hey, this was my life dream? No, it wasn't. Not in any way, shape, or form. The company morphed into what it is now. I never marketed. I use Facebook, Instagram as my marketing tool. And that has just blown the company up. The challenges we face now is we have more work than we have personnel.
Gotcha.
So now I'm just constantly chasing, to complete some of the jobs that we're doing. We got 30 jobs on a go at one time, and you're trying to do the estimates and everything else. So it's time for me to expand and take off some of those hats and give those responsibilities to everybody else. That's one of the challenges I have, is being able to let those responsibilities go, because in the past I've seen so many failures from other people that it kind of makes me nervous about letting things go.
Have you ever read the book E-Myth or heard about it?
No.
It's a great one about, and I mean, I read books when I have time. I don't go, hey, I'm gonna read a new book every week like some people say entrepreneurs do. I'm like, no, entrepreneurs
How
don't
do
do
it?
that. Entrepreneurs fucking work, man. They don't read books.
I mean, we didn't get home last night until 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
we left. We rolled out 5 o'clock in the morning. Rolled out of the warehouse at 6. Went to the job, and it's a large loss. The adjuster came in. And basically, he was like, "Oh, I'm going to do this. I'll write the scope. I'll put the scope in, and I'll be done with it in an hour." And I'm looking around this, 5,000 square foot house with every different angle, and I'm going, "You're going to write this scope in an hour?"
Yeah.
I sat back for a minute.
What, are you going to smoke some meth first to
Yeah,
get that hour done?
I sat back for a minute, and then, my guy was building out the sketch, and then old boy looks at him and goes, "You think I can get that?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Yeah, maybe." There's a trade-off when you're asking for my ESX file. So,
Absolutely.
So yeah, he left, and we didn't leave last night until 9:30.
Yeah.
Didn't get home till almost 10:30, and he was calling at 8 o'clock this morning, wanting it
Yeah.
in less than 24 hours.
Right.
On a 5,500 square foot property.
Well, all these adjusters are more than happy if we do their job for them.
Oh, absolutely.
That book's interesting though because it talks about delegating, and that's the hardest thing for me too. Because I like to work, and I don't see the value in having to line someone out on something that I know they're not going to do well on, or that I'm going to have to loop back with them 10 times before it's done. So my shortcoming is not delegating enough. When you first start delegating, it's hard to accept the fact that, hey, if they do it 80% as good as I do it, it's going to be all right. That's all, you know what I mean? And that's the hardest part about growing, is the if you're a perfectionist or a type A, let's just get in there and get it done. The wait around for the learning curve to catch up with people is very frustrating.
Yeah.
Especially, you have a military background. We don't arrive, assess, sit around, have a board meeting. You get there and get it fucking done.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And
Construction's
that's definitely
very similar.
A big problem that I have. I think sometimes I just expect people to do things.
Yeah.
Kind of like, for instance, what I was just talking to one of my guys about, and I shouldn't even have to say it, but I said, "Will you make sure that all the tools are policed up before he leaves?" And I had to say that because it didn't happen, and I already preempt that it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
Some people I don't understand it. One of the things that I mentioned earlier to one of my guys who is another Marine. And I said, this guy acts like a Lance Corporal in the Marine Corps. When he sees a piece of trash on the ground, instead of picking it up and throwing it in the trash bin, he'll step over it.
Yeah.
And that's what this guy is like. And it just pisses me off to no end.
bet.
If you see a hammer sitting on the floor and it says Veteran Restoration, pick it up and put it in the trailer before you leave. Because if I got to go back and get that hammer, now it costs you my time.
Yeah.
And so those are the things. Those are some of the challenges that I have.
Yeah.
And I just sit there and I'm thinking, like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
Just pick it the fuck up and go.
I think it's that a lot of people just don't take ownership of much of anything in their life.
No.
We know just society, in terms of society, everything's everybody else's fault. Right? For the last however many years, everything's been the orange man's fault. Mm-hmm. Everything.
Victimhood. Everybody's a victim.
Everybody, man. And that's the easiest thing to do is point at someone else and say, my life sucks because, when really the answer 100% of the time as to why your life sucks is staring back at you in the mirror in the morning. Mm-hmm. There's just no doubt about it. If you're fat, you're out of shape. You're sad, you're depressed because you're drinking all the time. Just whatever it is, it's on you, man.
Yeah.
Getting people to take ownership.
It's crazy, and ownership is that. And, people look at adversity and, I've seen a lot of things, being overseas for as long as I was, different contacts and so on, and watching guys who talk this big game, oh, if I get into a contact, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to, and then next thing you know, we take contact and old boy's curled up in the freaking wheel well of the truck. And you're going, hey, let's go. We got to get in. We got to go. And you don't want to move. And, it's those people that I look at and you say, once you're challenged with adversity, what are you going to do? You're either going to step up to the plate and take care of the business, or you're getting in the back.
Yeah.
And that plays a role with not only guys in the military, contractor life, and so on and so forth, but people in general. And I've seen it so many times when people are challenged with adversity and they're just a challenging a day, and they just freeze up. They don't know what to do.
Or they bail.
They bail, or they just lose their shit.
Yeah.
And I'm every time I turn around, someone's like, oh, I'm going to lose my shit. Well, that's because you're weak-minded. Hey, it sucks. Whatever's happening to you right now, it sucks. You get in a car accident. Your dog shits on the floor. It sucks. And you have no time to even clean it because you need to be in an appointment.
Sure.
So you're scrambling at that point. But when you lose your mind about it, the rest of your day is screwed because you can never catch up. You just have to look at it and go, all right, this is where I'm at right now. Let's see what we have to do to figure this out.
Yeah.
Probably one of my one day that we got into a contact, we got hit by an RPG, and I remember when the contact started and everything else, and we were given the contact report, and we were the third vehicle in the convoy, and I was looking out the window watching the second guy with the RPG come out, and when he fired off the second RPG, I'm looking at it, and I obviously knew that we were getting it. Damn. And I just kind of leaned back in my seat, and Brandon was driving, Eric was in the gun, and I had been hitting Eric going, shoot, shoot, shoot. So, he's tracking the insurgent, and he's bringing the rounds up. He was walking the rounds into the insurgent. The insurgent obviously was very confident in his ability. So he popped off the RPG, and when he did, saw the back blast from the RPG, just leaned back in my seat. I said, we're getting this one. Hit the side of the truck. We were in an MRAT. Blew the plates off the truck. We thought the truck was on fire. We moved forward to the Alpha vehicle. Alpha vehicle said, oh, you guys are good to go. You're not on fire, but it took your plates off. And we kept on moving. And other people, that was it. They dropped tools that day. They said, this ain't for me. And I look at it and I go, we were laughing. Believe it or not, we were laughing.
Yeah.
We're sitting there going, because just seconds before that, Brandon was mimicking South Park. And then once I got off the radio, I heard Brandon go, we just got hit by an RPG. And we all just started laughing because everybody was good to go. And we rolled on. And that's the thing is, when people are met with those challenges, how are you going to react to it? And it doesn't mean that you have to be military in order to be exposed to challenges and be able to react good or bad to those challenges. It's every person has that core strength in them to be able to react to something. It's how you react to it. Are you going to fear it, run away from it, and be a bitch? Or are you going to go, hey, this is the situation I'm in, and I don't have a friggin' choice because I ain't going back. So if I got to go forward, I'm going to push through you. I'm going to knock you down, tear you apart, and I'm going to get through and I'm going to get to the next stage of life. This is not everybody does that.
Where's that grit in you come from? Is that part of how you were raised?
I think so. More than anything else, I think it is. I grew up in New York.
Couldn't tell the accent.
I lived quite an interesting life growing up in New York. Family obviously was split, and I wouldn't say I was the best kid. I enjoyed fighting a lot. Didn't realize I knew how to fight until probably 7th or 8th grade. My brother, I was the youngest of 4, brother being 6 years older than I was. So when I was 7th grade, he was a senior. And they used to put me in the middle of the lawn, surrounded by 6 of his buddies, and basically said, you ain't getting out of this circle until you fight. And I would fight all of his friends.
Wow.
So that's how I grew up. And then when I started fighting myself, whether it was on, playing hockey or football, whatever it was, or just out on the street, and I got a taste for it, and I realized, oh man, I'm all right at this.
Yeah.
That's when, things changed. And then everyone's like, oh my God, you're fucking beating everybody up. And I'm going, what are you talking about? I got a freaking brother who's 6'1", and all of his friends who beat the shit out of me every single day. He put me in a circle and beat the shit out of me every day. And now I got to fight somebody who's my own size, and I'm crushing them. And you're worried about, why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Well, it ain't why I'm doing it. It's because I got a taste for it, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So throughout life, I looked at everything as a fight and a challenge, and how am I going to win?
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, you don't step into a fight and go, I'm going to lose this.
No.
You step in and you go, man, I'm either going to kill this dude or this is going to suck.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be on my back at the end of the day.
No doubt.
So that's what you do, and you figure it out. And the challenges that you do lose, you learn from.
Yeah.
And if you don't learn from them, then you're an idiot if you don't learn from it. There's no other way to put it.
There really isn't. Yeah.
You're either going to learn from your mistakes, from your challenges, from your failures, from your losses, or you're not. And if you're not, man, I don't want nothing to do with you because, sorry, you're a fucking loser then.
So the team sports thing, you played football, hockey, stuff like that, going up through high school and all that.
Yeah.
So knocking heads there. Did you box and stuff like that too?
No, never boxed. I wrestled.
Yeah.
Football, wrestling, hockey. Hockey always started out as we were really young.
Yeah.
Just shoveling off the ice.
Sure.
And getting out there, no ref. When a fight broke out on the ice there, you were on it. No one's stopping it.
Wow.
The only way that's stopping is when somebody loses.
My dad's from upstate, so Wappingers Falls, so he always talked about shoveling the ice off the pond and playing.
From Monroe, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Cool.
Hell, me and my cousin weren't even allowed to hang out anymore because we were beating the shit out of each other all the time. My aunt, I think, was like, that's it. You guys are done. Cousin's got stitches in his face, and, I got broken fingers and shit. And so finally, they're like, that's it. You guys are done for the season. Don't even get on the ice together.
That's
we
funny.
We still did it, though. What the hell?
I bet. When you were going through high school, were thoughts of, I kind of want to join the military?
Yeah.
Are you from a military family?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
So my father actually didn't want me going to the Marine Corps.
Really?
And I ended up going anyway against his best wishes. And my father was a very hard guy. And I probably didn't realize it back then, what he was doing or what he was instilling into me until, obviously he was gone. He passed away in 1995. I just went in the Marine Corps. And it wasn't until then that I realized, he was so hard on me for a reason. And I lean back on that so much now in my life. And often I think to myself, would he approve of what I'm doing right now? Whatever it is in life, whatever I'm doing, wherever I'm standing, whether I think it's right or wrong, I don't get on my knees and pray. I go, what would my father think of me right now? Whatever I'm doing, how would he look at me? Sure. And that's kind of how I guide myself throughout life right now.
Sounds like you had a lot of respect for him growing up.
I did. I probably didn't then when I was being yelled at, when I was, being woken up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to the shop and go work all day long, and didn't realize, back then I just thought, I'm the slave laborer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's what you think when you're a kid. You're just like, oh, wow. All my friends are out there playing, and I'm in a shop building cabinets.
Yeah.
And there ain't no, if I wanted to go somewhere, Shoe Leather Express, walk.
Yeah.
So finally, you get a bike and you start riding a bike, and then, you make your way through life. And I think those lessons that that he taught me indirectly is how I, ended up where I am today in life.
Yeah, that work ethic. I mean, obviously you're a pretty driven guy. You know what I mean? And driven people usually are raised by driven people.
Right.
So the fact that no one has to get you out of bed now, you've got goals, you've got ambitions, and you're out there chasing them, come hell or high water, is a result of, those values that were instilled in you when you were young and when you didn't really realize what was happening. You knew you didn't like it, but I mean, that's kind of what happens when you're young. If you did everything you always liked, you'd just be, eating ice cream and sitting on the couch watching cartoons or whatever.
Yeah. So it's definitely, growing up, obviously, like I said, my parents, they had split up. I went to go live with my father probably around when I was about 13. Living in New York, like I said, I was fighting a lot. It was a normal occurrence, a daily thing. Mom was not cool with it. It was at the point where I was getting picked up, brought to the police station.
Damn.
Getting picked up by her. She's like, what's going on? What's going on? And I just, finally one day I just went, man, I don't know. And I called my father, and him and I did not talk. We were not close. But I knew that if I didn't do something, there was only two options that I was going to have in New York. Either I was going to get killed by one of the gangs that I was running around with, or I was going to jail. So I made a decision, and I went to go live with my father, and he cracked the whip. There was no such thing as going out and partying. And believe me, I had done some underage drinking, and I got drunk, here and there, and realized really, really quick why you don't do that.
Yeah.
Especially when you're hungover as a kid, sitting in a shop, running a table saw all day long, and your old man's like, I don't give a shit what you feel like. Keep going.
Yeah.
And you're just thinking, fuck, I'm not doing that again.
Yeah.
I know my weekend's going to consist of. I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's just those things, those learning points in life that, has kind of got me where I am.
Yeah. Did he not want you to enlist? Did he want you to go to like officers training school, or was it just he wanted a different life for you?
I think he wanted a different life. My brother was in the Marine Corps at the time, and me and my brother are very different. My brother was, a good Marine, but he was in trouble a lot. And I don't know if he kind of, in a little way, kind of played the victim role a little bit, and hopefully you don't hear that, but
nobody watches this shit, man.
But it was him talking to my father and everything else about the Marine Corps and the shitty parts of the Marine Corps.
I got you.
He my father kind of got discouraged about the Marine Corps, but I had always wanted to go in the Marine Corps.
What attracted you to it when you were younger?
I had no idea.
Yeah, because I mean, I was very attracted to it as well, and almost enlisted when 9/11 went down.
Yeah,
very, very, very close.
So I think for me,
is it the
when
commercials
it came to the Marine Corps,
that get us?
I don't know. It wasn't a commercial. I mean, I obviously my brother was in the Marine Corps, so that was something I looked at.
Was your father too?
He wasn't, but he was military.
Okay,
and it was just something I looked at. It was the structure. It was the discipline that you look at those individuals. And back then, as a young kid, 18 years old in 1993, and so on and so forth, I look at a Marine and I'm like, that dude is squared away. Like he's got his shit together, and he's all about life. And there's nobody getting in his way. He's going to run you over, and that was what I wanted.
Sure.
And so that was the route I took, even against my father's will. And I pushed in. I pushed into that lifestyle, and shortly thereafter, my brother was still in the Marine Corps at the same time I was in the Marine Corps, and we ended up the same rank. And
really?
He had been in the Marine Corps 8 years prior to me.
Oh gosh.
And so there was a clear difference in our career patterns between
you took to it pretty.
I took to it.
Yeah.
I was very athletic, so I was running a 300 PFT. My rifle, pistol was, expert on everything, and just driven. One of the days we had a squad leader, and I hated him. I thought he was a piece of shit. And I was a lance corporal. He was a corporal. He was the squad leader. And one day I walk out, and he was, running his mouth. And I just looked at him and I said, I'm going to have your job. And he's like, you think so? I said, fucking right I am. I'm going to have your job. And that was one of the things that I looked at people and I went,
yeah,
fuck you. I don't like you. I'm going to beat you. I just didn't care.
Steve, do we need to get you in some yoga, bro?
No, fuck yeah.
That's awesome.
It's just that challenge. You know, you look at somebody and you go, okay.
Did you take his fucking job?
I did.
Hell yeah.
2 weeks later. 2 weeks later, I got meritorious promoted to corporal, and I became the squad leader.
That's badass, man. You called your shot like Babe Ruth.
I try.
That's awesome. So right out of high school, are you enlisted?
Right out
Straight
of high
out.
school. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So 17, 18 years old, you're going to basic training?
18 years old, left, went to basic training, and did my 13 weeks at Paris Island, and came home, graduated. That's when I found out my father was sick. We didn't know what was going on with him just yet, but I think my father had a good idea, and that's when we found out that he had cancer and so on. And it was already way too far along.
Really?
So
damn.
When we found out, it was kind of like, okay, let's put him in hospice and do what we need to do, and let it take its course, because he didn't want to go to the hospital. He was like, there's nothing you can do for me at this point.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. And I looked at that, and, you know, I went from being the guy getting yelled at and being told, you know, go down in the van and go get something. And when he told you to go get something, you better bring it back. Because if you don't and he goes get it and he has to go get it, you're getting hit with it. That's all there was to it.
Yeah.
So when I first started working with him and didn't know.
Extension cords are fun.
Oh, yeah.
They? Yeah.
And didn't know what he needed, it was a beatdown.
Yeah.
So I had to learn on each job what he needed. So I would know, okay, we're going to be doing trim today. We're going to do cabinets today. We're going to do this. I already knew what tools he was going to need. And then I would set the van up myself.
Nice.
This way I knew where it was. He didn't put anything away anymore because I needed to do it, because I knew if I didn't, and I go in there, he says, oh, go get this or go get that, and I didn't find it because it wasn't where I put it. I was getting hit with it if he found it.
Yeah.
So that kind of like instilled a lot into me. And when I watched him deteriorate, the roles changed. It went from where he was the one in charge, telling me what's up and, you know, guiding me, to me having to guide him and take care of him.
Gotcha.
And then on his final days, we did our thing and we said our goodbyes, and he passed. And at that point, I did go a little bit off the deep end a little bit. Probably swung hands a little bit more than I should have.
Yeah.
Made some shitty decisions, but I had some good senior Marines that probably saved my career. Probably said, hey, what are you doing? You're a good Marine. Stop doing this. Stop doing that. And I did.
Were you dealing with grief, or?
I just wanted to destroy shit.
Yeah.
So it was like, you know, I mean, we were beating the shit out of each other just for fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we all do. We always do. We always do. The Marine Corps is just the way it is.
Yeah.
You know, let's get hard. And that's all it was. You know, you better harden up, because this ain't the place to be. And especially, you know, when it comes to being an 03, yeah, and, you know, a ground pounder and shit like that. It was just the way it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm inside of it. That's one thing. But the guys who are kicking doors, we're there for a reason.
Yeah.
And
it's not to pass out hugs.
No, it's not.
Yeah. After basic training, you're ready to roll. Did they immediately deploy you?
No, not right away. I went to a couple schools. I went to SOI, School of Infantry. And from SOI, obviously, when I went into the Marine Corps, I was a 0300. So I didn't have a designator. I didn't have an MOS at that point, other than 03. While I was in SOI, I got picked, which I don't know why, because I'm short. I got picked to be a machine gunner.
Okay.
So that's where I ended up. And then you want to talk about getting real hard real quick and all that. That's going to harden you up when you're carrying a 95-pound,
yeah,
Mark 19 on your back through the sand, and you're humping a 10-mile hump, and you ain't handing that off to anybody else, and they're going to break you down. And that's the whole part of it. Break the person down as much as you possibly can and see what they're capable of. Because you really don't know your capabilities until you're all the way down there in the dirt on the ground, and you have to make a decision on, do I get up or do I stay down?
Have you had a tap out moment where you've been like, God, this is, or was it always just like, fucking bring it? What is this it? Is this all you got?
I've had many challenges, but I've yet to have one that sat me down and said, okay, I'm going to change direction. I just, I've changed directions on certain things because I needed to find a solution, but never quit.
Yeah.
Just
keep blazing forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, damn, this is there. For me, I look at things and I don't see options of failure or changing. It's
right.
just, this is the direction you're going in. Once you commit, that's it. And sometimes that's bad. Sometimes that's bad because sometimes when you're so set in your ways and you make that commitment, there's nothing that's going to stop you.
Yeah, man. I agree. There have been times in my life where maybe if I would have, when someone in my life said, hey, this partnering up with this business partner or doing this or doing that, it's got all the makings of a disaster. And I've been like, nope, this is the plan. I'm sticking to the plan. Come hell or high water. Let's blast through it. And it ended up failing and and not working. But for as many times as maybe it is a weakness to be someone who hangs in there. I think I would much rather be that type of person than the type of person who, at the first sign and the first inkling of, oh, this is barely not going to plan, I'm just like, oh, nope, I'm out. I mean, that's just not the type of person I think I could ever be. I don't think I could look at myself in the mirror if I was that type of person.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I don't think even rolling into something that may end up ultimately at the end failing, there's still lessons to be learned from that, no matter what.
For sure.
So I never really take a failure as a failure. I take it as, what have I learned from this? And on the next challenge, what am I going to be able to use from the last challenge to be able to push further?
Definitely.
If you don't fail, you're never going to push your limits.
Well, you're not trying hard enough if you never fail.
You have to constantly be pushing your limits. And you're going to fail if you're pushing your limits.
Yeah.
If you want to be freaking mediocre, then be fucking mediocre and don't do shit. Sit around and do nothing and just, work that, 9-to-5 job and be that guy. Or step outside of that box.
Well, if you want to get strong, you got to push iron. And you push it till you can't push it anymore, which means that in the last set you're failing, right?
Yeah.
Or you're not getting bigger and stronger. I mean, that's just the way it is. The same as with life, whether it's business or relationships or personal growth of any kind.
Very true.
If you're comfortable, you're not doing anything.
No.
Yeah. I mean, you were sleeping in Lake Charles. You were sleeping in a trailer for, 3-4 months down there?
Yep.
Waking up with your propane gone, cold as hell and shit? Yeah.
Yeah. And we went through Hurricane Delta, so the trailer got all jacked up. And by the time...
Lake Charles hadn't been hit by a hurricane in so long. Then in 1 year, it gets hit twice. I mean, some of the stuff I saw down there is just insane,
We sat there and slept in a trailer that was tilted on its side to some extent because the hurricane literally pushed the trailer almost over and bent the stands. And I just said, I'm all right. I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
Sleep in a different direction. So if I'm tilted this way, okay, good to go. I'm going to sleep a different way.
There you go.
And the guys are like, you serious? I'm like, yeah, go get jacks, jack the trailer up, put some new stands underneath there, put some blocks underneath there, try to level it as best we can, and carry on.
No doubt.
And, if you can't do this, go home.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. I'm staying.
Right.
So if you can't do it, you're not ready for this. Go home. I mean, I'm not going to call you a bitch or anything like that. It's just you're not fit for it.
I'll mail you your final check.
Yeah.
When you are serving in the military and then doing other like paramilitary type, like contract work, stuff like that, were you thinking in your mind before you were here for an extended period of time and started the first iteration of your company, were you thinking I'm going to be military my entire career and retire military? Or were you thinking...
pretty much. I mean, what happened in Iraq in 2017, had it not happened, I probably would still be there right now.
And is that when you shot that video?
Yeah, I put a video out,
Yeah.
And obviously it got a lot of attention.
Just a bit. Just a few views. Yeah.
So, and had that not happened, I probably still would have been there. So many times, you sit there and you go, I'm gonna work my exit strategy.
Sure.
I don't want to be here all my life. And I remember, all of us guys, we all sat at the same table. All of us, guys who actually were door kickers and so on and so forth. We all sat at the same table, and it was great. Because the greeting to even sit at the table was, what the fuck, motherfucker. I mean, that was it.
Yeah.
Everybody made fun of each other with the banter, and I remember. Everybody there were good guys. They were all good guys. And that's one thing which is a challenge when you come back to the States was everybody who was there wanted to be there. They were driven. They were hard chargers. They wanted to be there. They enjoyed being in that high threat environment. They wanted to be there. And then you come home. So you come from a group of guys, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, whatever, to coming home and you have guys who are lazy. And you didn't have that over there.
Yeah, you missed that like-minded.
Yeah. Everybody knew that if you don't step up to the plate and you don't do what you're supposed to do, other lives are going to be in jeopardy. And that was just the way it was. So you didn't have the guys showing up late. You didn't have the guys who didn't want to go to the trucks and make sure that everything was strapped down, the guns were clean, and the ammo was ready to go, and all that. You didn't have that. Whereas here, hell, people, they don't care.
No, man.
They don't care, and it's definitely a big challenge to be able to go from such two different lifestyles altogether.
Sure. When you stepped away from the military, was it that esprit de corps, that the locker room type stuff that, like, when my athletic career was over, I'm a big rugby guy, and rugby's very aggressive. Yeah. It's awesome. It's fucking like heroin right in my veins. The second I discovered it, I was like, what the fuck? How is this legal?
Yeah.
But then when I left that, yes, I missed the on the field and the cracking the heads and all that, but it was being around my bros who we all thought the same and we all kind of lived the same.
Yeah, that camaraderie is, and it'll never, for me, I'll never feel it again. I have to find that same excitement and adrenaline rush through other things, which really are never going to compare.
No.
And it's just...
Even when you're competitive in business and you win contracts and stuff like that, it's still kind of, it's mediocre in comparison. Yeah.
It's, like you said, it's a lot like a drug. Your first firefight, the feelings that you have, the emotions you go through, the ups and downs, all that, you will never feel that again.
What was that like?
There's nothing in life that you're ever going to,
do you remember that? And will you
I do.
remember it till the day you
do.
die?
I remember everything. I remember pretty much all of our contacts. I remember when I, lost guys and so on and so forth. Your senses on such high alert, it's insane. You smell things that you never had smelled before. You hear things, things slow down. There's just so many things that happen, and you would never, you can't feel that feeling again. I would get mad, not during the contact, after, like hours after. And I don't know what, just what it was. We were pulling security in while one of the teams was exiting out of our compound, and we got engaged while the team was, out there by some snipers. We were on the road, and we got engaged and obviously re-engaged. Now, during the re-engagement and during the firefight, everything is calm. Everything is chill. Everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And, we win, and it's a done deal. It wasn't until like 3 hours later that I'm sitting in my room that I got fucking pissed.
Really?
Like, just so mad because I was like, that fucker shot at me.
Ah.
Like, what the... and you just... you want to go out and destroy shit.
Yeah. I
it's
can
just
only
like,
imagine,
yeah.
man. That's got to be crazy.
It was never during the contact that you would get that way. Well, at least for me. It was always afterwards.
Because you were just during the contact, you're hyper focused.
Yeah, that's it. You're just very, very hyper focused.
Totally zoned in. Mm-hmm. Just laser. Yeah, I can't even. It's got to be.
And then when it all
awesome.
is over and you're coming back down, you're just like, all right.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you even forget what you've done. Like, I've been in contacts where I didn't even remember. People are like, hey man, why the hell did you do that? Like, you ran straight through there and grabbed this guy and did this and did that. And I'm like, I don't remember that.
Wow.
And they're like,
you just like had an adrenaline blackout almost?
You just do it. You just go.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't remember everything. You remember the bits and pieces. I mean, you have a general idea of what you did.
Yeah.
But, you don't know.
Derek was talking when he was on here about his first firefight. The guys, like you said, the guy jumping in the wheel well, you can't get him out. And is always the biggest talkers,
Yeah.
Do guys ever recover from that? Like if their buddies see them doing that, or is it kind of like, do they transfer? How does that work? I mean, I've never been in the military. Do you transfer out?
We had a guy, Army Ranger, talked a lot of shit. I love Rangers, all them guys. We have a lot of banter between each other, between the services and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, we're all brothers. This guy in particular, really boasted about him being a Ranger and everything else. And I thought he was a dick. I always did. When we were out in Mosul, and we were in the compound that we had established right off the Tigris River. And he was just a dickhead. And he ended up, I was doing a patrol, and we had come down by the river, and there was some Iraqis on the other side of the river, and one of the females, was losing her shit. She was upset, and I'm like, what the hell is going on over here? So I seen another truck down there, and I pull up, and this guy, I'm not saying his name, was basically getting ready to engage. And I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, that fucking lady's losing her shit. And I'm like, thinking to myself, why? Like, it just doesn't happen out of nowhere. Sure. So I'm looking, and I glass it, and there's a cow down in the high weed. Well, the dude shot the cow.
Damn.
And I'm going, bro, did you shoot that cow? And he's like, yeah. Why? What did you do that for? He's like, who gives a shit? Our whole team gives a shit. Because now you just made an enemy.
Damn.
That person who uses that cow to plow their field and do all that, and eventually is going to, eat that cow.
Yeah.
You just took that away from them.
Damn.
So what do you think is coming after that?
Yeah.
So we got IED'd shortly after that. Fuck. It wasn't very long. Now, obviously, nobody took no casualties or anything else, but it was pretty much, that was the gist of it. Every action is going to cause a reaction.
Yeah.
And that was the reaction from his action.
Damn.
So we ended up parting ways at some point. I don't really remember, when that point was, but we were in a really, really big contact. He wasn't part of it. And we lost a couple guys on the team, so they kind of disbanded our team because we, basically lost like 4 dudes.
Damn.
So they disbanded the team and kind of split us up into different directions. Shortly after that, I left that company and I went with another company. And this guy shows up. Now, he's a big shit talker. So this guy shows up and somehow, some way, he's on my team. And I'm like, So we're on our way through Baghdad. We're doing a mission. And we get engaged. He's in a turret. And the rounds are, they're accurate enough that they're hitting our truck. And we're in a big truck. We're not in like a SUV. We're in an actual armored vehicle. And I'm telling him, hey, return fire. And my gun's not going off. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? The gun's not going off. There's no return fire. And I'm yelling at him, yo, return. And I look back, and the dude's sitting in the harness. He's sitting in the seat below the glass of the turret. And he doesn't even have the weapon in his shoulder. So he's hiding. So we got back, and this is the guy who talks all this shit about how badass he is. And that, in a contact. So we got back, and we had to do an after action. I pulled him aside, and I said, hey, dude, you better not even just go, don't even go to the after action brief. I said, go pack your shit. And he's like, what? I said, go pack your shit. You're off the team. You're leaving. Well, you can't. Dude, you're leaving. Like, on the day, you did not perform. You talk all this shit and you didn't perform. So you're leaving. You can resign or you can get forced. It's totally up to you, however you want to do it. But you're not staying on this team. And he ended up leaving. And I never spoke with him again. But, those are the kind of guys that you want to just get rid of them. Fuck them.
Man, no doubt. Is it not almost a universal truth that if somebody starts talking and tooting their own horn, they're usually pretty much worthless?
Sometimes, you do have guys who are confident in their abilities and everything else, and they're going to perform. And alpha males are alpha males. When you can perform, you don't choose to jump in somebody's face or talk shit. But if you have a reason to be able to do that, do it.
You might, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it sucks, But at the end of the day, you look at it, you look at them, you look at their history, you look at their performance, you look at everything they've done, and if they have the ability to talk shit, then it is what it is. More power
to you. Yeah.
Normally they don't do it though.
Yeah.
Normally they just go, okay.
A lot of times the guys who are real badass, I know. My athletic background. A lot of those guys don't run their mouth. They just go out there and fucking destroy people, and they're like, "What's up? When are we going to the bar?"
Yeah.
When you were there in 2017 and that travel ban thing went down, and you shot that video, obviously, you didn't expect for it to, strike the chord that it struck.
Not
but I've never gone viral. What's going viral like?
What it's like now is, what happened then obviously was I got pulled out of a country.
Yeah.
I mean, who gets evacuated, removed from a combat zone?
Yeah.
Fucking me. How, it's like it's
so they were just like,
oh yeah,
cuz
that was it. The Iraqi government was after me the whole 9 yards. It was like, okay. And it's the State Department, they just say, we got to get them out. Wow. So, boom, gone. What can you do?
Damn.
Life change immediately.
Yeah.
Like that was that. I mean, that's when you talk about adversity, I mean, there you go. I literally, in one day, less than 24 hours, my entire life changed.
Do you regret?
I don't regret it.
Yeah.
I don't. I'll stand firm on my thoughts on that day, and to this day, I still feel the same way. I look at it as a new chapter.
Yeah.
It's like
the universe had a plan for you.
It's like I said. Okay, hey, this is here's a deck of cards you just got dealt. What are you
Sure.
going to do with it?
Yeah.
You're either gonna flounder, or you're gonna do something great.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I did. I said, okay, well, here we go. Let's revamp the company. Let's do this. Let's do this.
Sure.
And redirect that energy and push forward.
Were you able to use that to a degree to help you start working your social media angles to try to build your business?
So when that video got put out, I probably had maybe 1,000 friends on Facebook. And they were all people that I knew. All people that I had worked with throughout the years, Marines, contractors, other services, other military, organizations from throughout the world. Because I had traveled the world at that point to so many different places, Afghanistan, Syria, fucking Iraq.
You're meeting people everywhere.
Everywhere. So, you meet guys from all different countries. And so you all kind of, you start talking to each other, you exchange Facebook and so on and so forth, whether it's South African guys, British guys or Chileans or, New Zealanders, whoever. And so I had maybe 1,000 people that were actually people that I worked with overseas throughout my time. And then all of a sudden, poof, everything blew up. And I didn't even know what a viral video was. I wake up the next morning and that's when I found out. They're like, hey, your video went viral. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
What's that mean?
I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I just kind of got up and was told about the video and that it went viral. And I said, okay, roger that. And went to chow, ate chow, went to the armory, picked up my weapons, took my client out on a mission, came back from mission around noon, and was walking in the chow hall and people stood up, started clapping. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? And one of my good buddies, he says to me, good video. You're going to go home today. And I was like, yeah, probably. At that point, it was about 10 million views.
Damn.
And I was like, yeah, okay. It's probably going to go bad.
10 million in less than 24 hours?
Yeah, about 12 hours.
Jesus, man. It's crazy, man. And then Hannity had you on.
Yeah, I didn't talk to anybody for a while.
Yeah.
When I first got home, I was just like, I don't want to talk to anybody.
Right.
I was kind of not really in hiding, but I just didn't want to deal with anything.
Sure.
So I finally get a call, or not I was getting lots of calls, and I had local Fox they had come to the house because I said I'm not going anywhere. So they had come to the house. They did a little segment, and then CNN called, Fox News had called a couple times out in California, and I just really kind of didn't pay attention to it. And then I get a phone call from Sean Hannity, and I hung up because I'm like, whatever, fucking ain't no. Calls back, and he was like, no, really, this is because I wasn't taking any calls, and then that's it was actually him, and he said, would you like to come on the show? And if there was any shows going on,
yeah,
that's who it was going to be.
Sure.
So I accepted, and he said, all right, I'll send you a car tomorrow. And they sent a car to the house, and I went to Dallas and did a segment with Sean Hannity.
Crazy.
And then literally two days later, I get another phone call, and I was in Georgia at the time, and they said, we need you to come to New York. And I said, well, I'm in Georgia right now. I was picking up a truck, for my company.
Really?
And I said, I'm in Georgia. And they said, don't matter. Come on.
Huh.
So I said, okay. So they sent me a ticket, and I flew to New York.
Wow.
And that's how the whole Fox News thing started. And do I think it actually helped the company? It did. I think, especially being in Texas, it helped.
Yeah.
If I was in a state that wasn't conservative, I think I'd probably be in a little bit of trouble.
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have been as successful as I am right now.
We're happy to have you in this state. Yeah. This state's a pretty badass state.
Yeah. I enjoy it pretty much.
Yeah.
So.
They fly their flag at a certain height for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good state. What's your opinion of social media? I mean, obviously now it's social
crazy. Media, oh God, is it a double-edged sword?
It's weird, right?
It is. I
it's
actually
like
got
a
off.
love-hate.
I actually got off Instagram and Facebook for a little bit.
Did you?
About 2 weeks over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Just because I was tired of it. I'm tired of dealing with it, tired of seeing all the shit, with the election and so on and so forth. So I just wanted to step away from it because I needed to be focused on everything else. And I think social media does take your focus away because there's so many things being thrown at you all the time. And if you don't stay focused, and you're going to get sucked in. And so on the business side of it, you want to keep content out there to be able to continue to get business. But at the same time, you don't want to get sucked in to the trolls and to everything else, all the noise that's around you.
Right.
You got to focus on what your goal is.
What's your strategy to stay focused with producing the content to bring the business in, but keeping the focus? Is it striking that balance of sometimes going, hey, for a couple of weeks, I'm just going to take a break?
You definitely got to definitely got to step away from it for a little bit, especially when you have a large following. You got to step away from it. A lot of trolls. Relationship wise, it's always difficult when you have a large a large following. Trying to date somebody, and somebody from Germany puts a comment on a video that you make.
Right.
And that person that you're dating, she's like, well, who's that?
Yeah. I have no idea. Yeah.
Well, she's checking you out. She said she wants to marry you. She don't even speak English. Like, I'm sorry, but
have you seen this beard?
Yeah.
Can you blame her?
So, it does get challenging. You're just like, oh man.
Yeah, I'm sure.
And then, normally a lot of times I'll put a post out and it'll just start going crazy. And I won't be able to keep up with the comments and everything else because I have to work.
Right.
So, there's no way to keep up with the comments. Then you got the people who get upset and they're just like, oh, you're an asshole. You're not responding to me. No, I'm working.
Right.
There's nothing I can do. I'm sorry that, now it's, 3 hours into a video and there's 1,000 comments and I've not liked or said hello or responded to anybody's comments, but what do you expect?
I'm in the field, man. What do you want me to do?
Yeah, and
this house ain't gonna dry itself out.
I know, and I think a lot of people understand that now, because they see the work that we're doing. Louisiana, I'm soaking wet, just drenched in sweat and dirty and everything else, and taking a bath in a pond. I don't have time to jump on there and address 1,000, 2,000 comments. I don't.
There's a lot of people who would kill to be getting 2,000 comments on a video or a post, though, so that's pretty badass.
I used to, when all this whole social media thing did happen, I did take things a little bit to heart in the beginning with criticism and trolls and so on and so forth. And it did consume me in a way. Yeah, haters. Yeah. And it did consume you in a way because it ruins your day.
Pisses you
and
off.
And then that's when you got to realize, and you just got to say, I don't even know you. Like, do I give a shit what your thoughts are? I don't.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Right.
Crack on. You see people having arguments on a thread, and you're just like, why?
Yeah. I see that, and I'm just like, how do you have time for that? That's pretty amazing.
And that's the other thing.
Or
how do you have time? What are you not doing that gives you the ability?
Your poor employer, whoever you are, your poor employer, because you're taking hours writing on some random thread when you should be working.
Yeah, and they're writing like books.
Yeah.
They're writing.
It's like a Wikipedia entry.
And I'm like,
I know it.
Seriously?
Copy and pasting links and telling you to go over here and research this and fuck you. And
and it's like, well, I'm actually going to go make some money right now. So you crack on in your little dungeon and,
your
do
mom's
whatever
basement.
you need to do.
Yeah.
But, I feel sorry for you, but I don't.
Enjoy them Cheetos and that homemade porn or whatever. When you said you're going to help Leos out with his social, is the secret the consistency of content, or also switching it up a little bit and maybe even switching up a written post, then maybe a video, then a photo, or what have you found?
I don't do a lot of written posts because I think when you write things, it's got to be really, really short blurbs. Sometimes I don't really have time for that. So doing
we want to see some of your poetry, man.
Yeah, no.
Come on, bro.
It's usually pretty bad. But doing a 30-second video just is probably you're going to get the most out of it.
And because people watch those, because they're so and because people are so uncomfortable shooting videos of themselves, that for them to see that you are shooting a video of yourself, it's like a trigger, or it trips this wire in people that they're gonna watch it. Yeah, it's a weird deal. Did you have to get over your fear? Like, were you self-conscious ever shooting videos? No, you're just fuck it.
I never was. Really? I've always been. I've always been in front of people. I've always been, taking the lead on things. So it never really, even as a young Marine, having to give classes and so on and so forth, I'll stand in front of all my peers and just do my thing.
No problem with the public speaking or anything.
No, never really had it.
It's probably
I became a drill instructor, so definitely. That's it. Yeah,
that's got to be from being young and getting hit in the face. Don't you think, fighting? You're just like, speaking in front of people, what's that going to, so many people are really afraid of that. Mm-hmm. Speaking in front of 10 people, 20 people, 500 people, that would terrify people. Yeah. You know what I mean? But, you have to just, I don't know, I've never had a problem with it. I've spoke at places where people have challenged me and I'm just like, oh, okay. I'll have a dialogue with you. Right. If it's something that's actually worth having a dialogue for. If it's not, then, you're a turd, sit down. But yeah, I've never really, I never clammed up or anything like that or got nervous. There's always a bit of nervous. You're always going to be a little bit nervous. Maybe it's more adrenaline than nervous too. Sometimes. But maybe you're kind of excited because you're good at it. Yeah,
you step out in front of people and you just go, okay, well, here we go. It's like walking into a customer's house, and you've got to put that person at ease. You got to, get that person to, one, want to work with you. And two, give them the confidence that they're going to be taken care of. And especially with the insurance industry, that's not easy. No. Because people have been burnt so many times, and you're going in there and you're going to get screwed. Yep. But I'm going to fight for you. Yep. And that's what they want. They want somebody who's going to fight for them. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't know how to fight the fight, it's overwhelming and you don't win. Yeah. You don't know how to win. Right. That's why, getting in front of people, being able to speak to people and getting them to understand that you're on their side is, what you have to do. And I've never had a problem with doing that.
That client care thing when you're dealing with, say it's even a civilian when you were in the field, when you were in the military. Mm-hmm. Same type of deal, making someone feel safe and at ease in a situation that's adverse. Mm-hmm. That is what client care is all about, is making a client feel like what's important to them is the most important thing to you. Yeah. If you can do that, you can sell anything from Ferraris to real estate to insurance restoration.
And at the same time, it's being realistic.
Yes.
And setting the realistic goals.
Expectations.
Because if you're not realistic, then if you're promising the world, and you're not delivering that, you're just an asshole.
Yeah, all there is turns you into a liar, mm-hmm. even though you weren't trying to do that. But yeah.
And I went through an experience just recently with a guy who was telling the customer everything they wanted to hear. And I looked at him and I'm thinking, what the? It's not achievable. And I didn't say that in front of the customer, but it was not achievable what he was saying. And he ended up leaving shortly after that, and I remained at the customer's house. And one of the things that I basically had, the customer had asked about the length of time it was going to take to do the mitigation and the rebuild process. And immediately this guy says, 3 weeks, before I could even answer the question. And he was completely wrong. And I'm thinking, okay. So I started packing my things up. And the customer noticed it. And I put my stuff by the door because I'm not taking that job.
Yeah.
You're not going to put me in a position where the expectations are that high, which it cannot be achieved.
No doubt.
It cannot be achieved. So I realized at that point, as much as you don't want to throw somebody under the bus, you had to. And I looked at her and I said, it's not going to be 3 weeks. You're looking at probably 3 months. And she was like, okay, I appreciate you saying that. She knew. Yeah. And the husband knew. And that was kind of like, that was how I ended up later on when I received the text that evening from the customer. They were very appreciative. And they said, thank you for being straight up with us. And I explained to them, your insurance company is not going to pay for this, this, and this. So I'm not going to absorb your deductible. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. These are the things that we can achieve. These are the battles that we are going to have to fight. This is what we need to do. This is the way forward. It's not going to be easy. It'll always be a challenge. I will fight for you as long as you fight for me and appreciate what I'm doing for you. As soon as you don't appreciate what I'm doing, then I'm going to let you fight the fight on your own.
Yeah, this is going to fall apart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they were really, really happy with that. And, of course, that generated 2 more jobs.
Nice.
So it's just that thing is, for me, I'm not going to BS. I'm not going to bullshit. I never have and I never will.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I don't believe in it. So when you look at me and you talk to me and I show up at your place, you get what you get.
Well, the best salesmen are not salesmen.
Yeah.
Right? They're people who show up, care, listen, maybe more than they talk, and educate the client and give them like, hey, this is exactly where we're at. This is what, and then let the client make the most informed decision that they feel is best for themselves.
And it's a challenge. I mean, I walk into a client's home, and they look at me, and they're like, dude, the guy's got a beard, friggin' halfway, down to his friggin' chest, and he's got tattoos all over him. It looks like he just got out of friggin' prison. And I have to break that barrier. I have to, get past that. The initial, holy shit, who's this dude? Is he going to rob me?
Who's this comic book character walking through my door? Yeah.
And it's funny because a lot of times, obviously everybody judges, and they judge you right off the bat when they're watching you walk up to their front door. And it's at that point in time that you have to conduct yourself professionally in a way that is going to kind of like make them, oh my God. And I think a lot of that, I can remember being in Iraq and having to give, threat briefs to new clients that are coming in. Sometimes those clients were field grade officers, colonels, generals. Now I've got to give a brief on where we are and what our threat assessment is, And I could see so many times when the room filled up and I'm standing in front of the board, the way people would look at me. And of course, then I was a lot bigger. So if you're being looked at and people are like, whoa, not in a good way.
Yeah.
They're looking at you like, the dude's looks like he's crazy.
Yeah.
He's got a huge beard, obviously works out. He's got tattoos all over the place, so.
Yeah.
But it's when you actually start to speak is when I would have a lot of people, a lot of military personnel, colonels and above, come up and say, that was the best brief I've ever had.
That's awesome.
And I'm like, I appreciate that. And they're like, you talk well. Well, just because you see what I am right now doesn't mean that I didn't come from a very formal background in the Marine Corps.
Sure.
Yeah. I didn't just kick doors.
Yeah.
I trained Marines.
Yeah.
I trained recruits to become Marines, and, it was what it was in the Marine Corps. I mean, I believe that field time is field time, garrison time is garrison time. And, when we would step out of the field and get in service alphas or Charlies or blues, I'm going to conduct myself the way I should in those uniforms.
Sure.
And while I'm in, fatigues and I'm kicking a door, I'm going to conduct myself as I'm kicking a door.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. You have to have the diversity.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
a lot of people don't have that
No.
diversity. They don't know how to switch back and forth from, okay, now I'm mental and I'm smashing your head in, or, okay, you need help and I'm going to help you.
Sure.
And this is how I'm going to help you.
No
it's
doubt.
just not everybody has those different levels of life in them.
Yeah.
So
no, they don't. I think that those are skills that you can improve upon too. Being able to shift gears, put on different hats, that type of thing. So let's talk about stress for a second. In the business we're in, people always calling you, stuff like that. Obviously, communicating with clients in a lightning fast fashion helps a lot. Helps keep people chill and all of that. How do you deal with stress? I mean, for me, during the day when I'm getting like 1,000 text messages, emails, phone calls, I'm in my flow state, everything's fine. I have no anxiety. I'm good to go. Soon as I get home, sun's going down, it's time to chill, time to get ready. That's when I start having, I get anxiety. So I hit the gym, do whatever, stuff like that. I meditate here and there, whatever, helps me out. What's that like for you?
Well, I've the balance is not balanced right now. Stress,
lots of work.
Stress levels very high.
Yeah.
Lot of things going on right now. Phone calls, just like you said, it doesn't stop.
Yeah.
You got adjusters that all want files all the time, and they want them right away. Yeah. And then you submit them, and you want paid, and now they don't return your call, and you're 60 days into an invoice that's past due 60 days for $40,000-$50,000, and you're going, I need this money. That's how a company runs.
Yeah.
And you're put in a position where you're stressed out because you have to start another job. You have to do this. You have to pay your guys. You have to make sure your equipment's on the job. You got to keep fuel and insurance and everything else. So the stress is very, very difficult. How in the past I've dealt with it is obviously getting to the gym and going to shoot. I mean, that's something that I'll probably never be able to get away from is, shooting and getting on the bike. Getting on the Harley and just getting out there and riding.
Cool.
And I've never rode with a lot of people. I'm straight on I'm a loner.
Yeah.
100%. My mother used to always say it.
Like that show Renegade.
Yeah.
That dude is just always by himself with the long hair.
Yeah.
You know that dude's a big time conservative, that actor?
No, I didn't know.
Lorenzo Lamas. Mm-hmm. Like hardcore. Yeah, you should check it out. Anyways, so he's always out there on his own. Now it's you without the long hair, which is the long beard.
Yeah.
He's out there on your chopper.
And that's the thing. I've never been a pack animal.
Yeah.
I've always been out there on my own.
Gotcha.
So I kind of deal with things on my own, deal with my own stress. I calm myself down.
Yeah.
There's nothing really, no person or activity that I can do that will bring me back down. Mm-hmm. I have to get in my own head and say, hey, dude, chill out.
Yeah.
Like, enough. You're going the wrong direction. Settle down and chill out. And usually that works.
Do you have, other than the gym, shooting, the bike, is the dog kind of a hobby now too? Yeah.
Definitely.
Cool.
Definitely. That was
that a calculated decision?
That was a very calculated
Sweet.
decision.
Nice.
And that was something I didn't realize I needed until it happened. And then I was like, okay, this was good for my heart. Like,
that's cool.
I needed that. So, that's why she's there. She's with me 24/7.
Yeah.
We don't go anywhere apart. She's in the truck all the time.
That's awesome.
It's just the way it is. So,
I want to meet her after.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's like, your little companion, I guess you could say, what I mean? So yeah, that was definitely something that was unexpected, but a very good thing to come into my life.
That's cool.
And so very happy for that. A lot of things are going to be going on with Leos with that.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited. I was seeing him yesterday, and that's kind of what we were talking about is
awesome.
The future of both of those puppies that we picked up in Boston, where they're going to be months, years from now. And everybody should watch the progression of how these dogs are going to, react and so on and so forth. And
it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, obviously your dad was like a mentor to you. Did you connect with other people who may have been commanding officers in the military or other people in business who have acted in a mentoring type role? Or are you pretty lone wolf there too?
Still pretty lone wolf. I probably had a few. One guy that when I was in Japan, he was my first sergeant. First Sergeant Willette. This is back in, I guess, like 1998, 98, 99. He was, just a solid guy, like 100%. I look at people's morals. I look at their core values, and he was somebody who didn't budge. Like, there was opportunity for him to do things that he shouldn't have done, and he didn't take it. And that, for me, gained a lot of respect because I looked at that and I'm like, he's got a wife. He's got kids at home. And even when an opportunity presents itself, he doesn't take that opportunity because he's a strong man. And that's kind of how I looked at it. And that's one of the things that I took from him, and I carried that throughout my life. And, I ran into a situation years and years ago with a girl that, had cheated on me, and I knew she was. And after a long period of time, I finally busted her cold. I'd come home after a contact. I was actually escorting one of my buddies home who had been killed, and I walked in on her with another guy. Didn't get mad. It's funny because everyone's like, man, if that was me, I'd have fucking killed her. I'd have killed them both. And you know what? I used to say the same thing.
Yeah.
On the day I walked in, I saw what was going on. I turned around, I walked out. I sat down. He left. She says, it's not what you think. Okay. No big deal. I basically said, I've got a mission. I've got to get Jerry home to his family because he needs to be buried. I'll deal with you later. So, came back and left. As a matter of fact, I was actually living in Texas at the time. I moved out of the state because I never wanted to run into the person again. And when I was asked, why did you leave? Why did you completely left? You left the whole state? I said, yeah. Just because I didn't do something to you on the day, it doesn't, you know who I am as a person.
Right.
You know what I do for a living. It doesn't mean that something wouldn't happen down the road when I run into you and this dickhead someplace else.
Yeah.
So to keep you safe, to keep me safe, I left the state and cut it all off. I started all over. I didn't even take not even one stitch of clothing. I left, moved to Florida, and started all over.
Wow.
House, cars, motorcycle, clothes, furniture, everything.
Really?
Started over.
Damn.
I wanted absolutely nothing that person had ever sat on, touched, or been around.
Yeah.
Started all over. That carried with me for a long time. Years after that, I was an assistant team leader on a team in Iraq, in Baghdad. And I had a buddy of mine, good dude. I liked him. He was a British Marine. Well, he had gone on vacation. He has 30-day leave. Came back from his 30-day leave, and he was telling me about something he had done overseas, or it was something he had done back home. Basically had a threesome. And I was like, all right, cool. I knew he was married. I was thinking, with your wife? Thinking,
Right.
you know, I mean, if that's what you do, that's what you do. But it wasn't. And I said, what do you mean? And he was like, no. It was, with these two girls I know. And I'm like, what do you mean? Needless to say, I said, hey, bro, you need to get out. You need to get out of the room. And he's like, what do you mean? I said, bro, get out of here. The next day, I told him, I said, look, I need you to request transfer off the team.
Wow.
And he's like, what are you talking about? I said, you need to get off the team. And he didn't understand.
Yeah.
And I explained to him, I said, look, your integrity is in question. And although you think it's cool what you did, it's not cool because you didn't just cheat on your wife, you cheated on your kids too. And if you're going to cheat on them on the day that I need you, your character is you've already shown me your character.
Yeah.
The day that I need you in a contact, you're not going to be there because your integrity sucks. And I said, if nothing else, I hope you take this as a lesson. So he left the team. And it was just kind of like, I didn't have any hard feelings or anything like that.
Right.
I was really disappointed. And I just kind of looked at it like, man, that's just really jacked up.
Yeah, man, that's a bummer.
So that's kind of like, and I look back at, First Sergeant Willette, and I look at that. And another buddy of mine, Brian Keegan, same thing. We were young. I'm talking young Marines. And we were running around like crazy and doing our thing. And he never, he was dating a girl from high school and everything else, which they're married, and they're still married to this day. I was in their wedding. And that was one of the things. I looked at him, and he never, ever even looked in another woman's direction.
Wow.
He was that dedicated, to his girlfriend at the time, fiance, which is now his wife, and still married to this day.
That's awesome.
And I look at it and I'm like, that's the people I want to be around.
Sure.
Those are the people that you want to be around. Those are the people that you're going to be able to trust, learn from, and enjoy, over your lifetime.
Yeah.
Man, everybody does shit. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So
nobody's
it's
perfect.
It's not like.
Yeah, but integrity and trust take so long to build, and they're so easy to lose.
It is. It's very easy to lose.
But like you said something very interesting. That commanding officer who you met in Japan, who you did admire, that he was a strong man because there were opportunities that presented themselves. He didn't take those because he was strong character.
Yeah.
You don't just get born with strong character. You have to. It gets forged in you.
Yeah.
Right. Like you get tested. The universe tests you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like you have ambitions. I have ambitions in business. And we're like, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna hire these people. We're gonna grow. And then guess what happens? The universe tests you. Things happen. Guys don't show up. Guys flake out. This happens. People leave. Do whatever. It's because the universe is seeing if I deserve what exactly it is that we want out of life.
Yep.
And it tests. It doesn't test people who don't want anything out of life. It tests people who do. You know what I mean? So what you said was very interesting. I agree with that. That's a very strong man who, when presented with a temptation, is able to go, nah, not for me.
Yeah.
I'm going the other direction.
Now, was he always that way in his life? Maybe. Maybe he wasn't, and he learned from not being that way. And just as I learned from, things that happened in my life where I realized, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to go through that. And, those are the kind of things. I mean, everything in life is a test. It's all on how, and a lot of times it's not a pass or fail. It's just how you react to it.
True story. Yeah.
So it's, are you going to learn from it? Is it going to build your character, or are you not? And, your company, you guys do roofing and so on and so forth. I see a lot of Well, for instance, the guy that was in a meeting with me with the customer.
Yeah.
Shady.
Yeah.
Shady as hell. Anything he can do to get that sale.
Yep.
And I'm thinking there and I'm looking at him and I'm like, bro, I don't want to be around a person like that.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't want to be around that. I'm not comfortable around that. And I don't know how to keep my mouth shut. And the dude's 7 foot tall.
Really?
And, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm like, bro, you suck.
Yeah.
I mean, he could probably freaking smash me. And I was just like, I don't really care. Like, you're a freaking shithead.
Yeah.
You literally will tell anybody anything to get a sale.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't do it. And I look at people like that and it bothers me because they cause problems for guys like us who do the right thing.
You have a really bad reputation.
Absolutely.
You tell someone you're in restoration or roofing, and they go, I know about you guys. And you're like, no, you don't know about me. You might know about other people, but that's not how I roll. Yeah.
And that's one thing that's good about social media is, you know, when you're with customers and you do those things for customers and you go through those fights and you help the customer out and they do a review or something like that, you know, it gives you the credibility. Not everybody's ever going to make a customer happy. It's just there are customers that you're not going to make them happy.
True.
Doesn't matter what you do. You could pull the sky down and hand it to them, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that you go, okay, I get it. Not going to make you happy. Let's go ahead and part ways wherever we are at this point in the job or whatever. You have to be able to just go, okay.
Yeah.
You know, there is things in life that you just are not going to fix.
Yeah.
And when that happens, you have to be strong enough and have enough character to go see it and go, okay.
Yeah.
And you know, somebody had said to me, well, that's quitting. No, it's not quitting. It's not quitting. When you have to walk away from something, that's not quitting. That's maintaining your integrity, your judgment, your state of mind, because not everything is perfect and nothing's ever going to go your way always.
No.
But at the same time, you need to be able to maintain your composure and maintain who you are internally. And if you change because of a customer, then you're not doing the right thing.
Who were you to start with?
Yeah.
There's a term for that. Discretion is the better part of valor.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just have to see what's up and just, like you said, part ways with a client. Talk about some things you've done for charity. You shaved your beard for a cancer charity?
Yeah, and actually I am getting ready to make the announcement that March 2nd we will be doing it again.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So,
awesome.
Normally what I've been doing is I'll leave it, you know, not really shaved, but pretty much manageable.
Yeah.
For 6 months out of the year.
Not
and
quite
then,
Santa Claus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then 6 months out of the year, I grow it. And like I said, I haven't announced it yet, but I will be announcing it maybe this week.
Cool.
That we're going to go ahead and start the campaign. And basically what I do is I start a campaign. I don't really like any platforms. I don't want to donate money to just any cancer.
Yeah,
you know.
it was a smaller outfit that you found last
It was.
time.
And I think we're going to go back to that same outfit.
Cool.
And
how much did you raise last time?
We raised $15,000 in
Nice.
30 days.
That's awesome.
And that's why I'm going to start a campaign a little bit early this time. And we're going to start a campaign. I'm probably going to just do another GoFundMe because I think the GoFundMe account, what I like about the GoFundMe account, of course, they take their 3%.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like about it is everybody can see what's there.
Sure.
And no draws can be made until you need to make the draw and so on and so forth. But everybody can see it. It's transparent.
Yeah.
Some of the other places that we were going to do this event with, I said, will we be able to determine how much was donated for this campaign? And they said, well, no. And I said, okay, well, that's a problem.
Yeah. That's not going to work.
I need to be able to see, I don't need to necessarily see who's donating, but I want to see what's in the pot.
Sure.
If say you or your company donates, $1,000 and it just goes to something where you donate, you never know.
Yeah. Is
that money actually going to go to children's cancer?
Yeah, no doubt.
So that kind of wore on me, and maybe because I have a little bit of problem with trusting people.
Yeah.
I decided that I'll take the 3% hit. I'll make that 3% hit up, and I'll go with the GoFundMe page. Everybody can see everything, and then when we do the draw, everybody can see what check has been drawn, and we hand it straight over.
Well, I'll help you out as much as I can. For sure, I'll promo it, and we'll throw in on that too. That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I wish I could grow that magnificent of a beard. You've got a skill there, man.
It's funny because when I did it the first time, I'll tell you why it happened. I was actually, where the hell was I? When I first came back from Iraq, I started doing this freaking motivational speaking.
Really?
And I was going, to different events and everything else, and it really wasn't my deal, but, I'm a worker. Like, I have a problem not swinging a hammer.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes I have a hard time being the boss because I want to be involved.
Sure.
And, I've been accused of my guys, you doing the work. And I said the same thing to my team leaders. I'm like, step back. You can't see the whole picture if you're in it.
Right.
And I do the same thing to myself. And why I say to my team leaders, step back, is because I know it's something I've done.
Sure.
And you can't see the whole picture when you're in that close to the wall.
Right.
When you're ripping the drywall out, you don't see what's going on everywhere else.
Yeah.
So you have to look at a battlefield, and that's what I consider it as a battlefield. You have to look at the whole battlefield and all of your moving parts and how you're going to move them in order to be successful on a job.
Sure.
And you have to use your assets a certain way. So, hell, I even lost train of thought, but...
Oh, you were saying that when you first started growing your beard out, or when that all started when you came back and you started doing the motivational speaking and stuff.
So, I was in a hotel. I can't even remember where I was, but I was in a hotel. It was like 2 o'clock in the morning. Couldn't sleep. And I was thinking, what am I doing? Why am I here? Do I actually want to be here? Are people actually listening to what I'm saying? Is it something I actually really want to do? What meaning does it really have? And I was thinking about my father. My father passed away from cancer. And I was like, what can I do to be part of that and show basically honor him for what he has done for me? Because at the end of the day, I still learn lessons from that man, and he's been gone all these years.
Wow.
Because when I do shit, or I find myself doing things that he did to me, and I'm going, man, I'm still learning from him. So I wanted to dedicate that to him. So my father passed away from cancer. My mother's had cancer like 5 times now.
Damn.
So she's a fighter. So I said, what can I do to show my appreciation and to do something that nobody else is doing? The beard.
Yeah.
And when I decided to do that, people lost their shit. They're like, you're not cutting your beard. You're not doing that. That's who you are. That's your brand. And I looked at them and I said, and this was a production company doing a documentary.
Really?
And I went, I think it's time for me to go. And they're like, why? I said, because if you think that this beard is what fucking makes me, you have absolutely no idea who I am. And I said, this is what I'm going to do. And that's it.
That's awesome.
And I walked away, raised the money, cut the beard, and I said, if people are going to unfollow me because I cut my beard off, fucking unfollow me.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit.
No doubt, man.
And and now years and years we've been doing it, and I do it every time. And
that's awesome. How many times have you done it?
We've done it 3 times now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I'm sure there'll be people who are going to be like, "No way, you're going to do it."
Yeah.
And maybe I'll run 2 campaigns.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll run 1 campaign to shave it, 1 campaign not to shave it.
Yeah.
And then both campaigns.
And then, yeah. You could do 1 to shave the beard and another to go straight mohawk for a month.
Maybe.
Like skin mohawk. Like you have to show up to clients.
That'd be pretty tough.
I think you have a hard time selling jobs.
I'll have to wear a hat.
Yeah. If clients want to reach out to you for water mitigation, restoration, front end, stuff like that, how can they reach you on email?
Anybody can email me. My website is up. My email is on the website. But, if they want to email, it's just steve@veteranrestoration.vet.
Awesome.
That's the email address. Obviously, the company is veteranrestoration.com. So if they ever want to look it up on the internet or whatnot and take a look at what we do.
Sweet.
Pretty easy to do that.
And then you're pretty easy to find on Facebook and Instagram too.
Yep, very, very.
Just Steve Gern on both.
Yep.
And
I've never made up some weird name or anything else. It's just
no creative handles.
No handles.
Steve Gern.
My Instagram was, Steve Gern 1775.
Nice.
1775 is because that's the date of the Marine Corps.
There you go.
Birthday of the Marine Corps, 1775. So that's why that's there.
People can tune in there when you start announcing about this charity too, right?
Yep.
To see the GoFundMe links and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'll put that on my stuff too.
Yeah.
And awesome, man. Hey, I appreciate you carving out time.
All right.
Appreciate meeting you.
All right. You too, man.
That was awesome. I hope you liked that as much as I did. I enjoyed that quite a bit. Steve's an awesome guy, and I'm going to throw in with him, help him out with his Shave the Beard challenge to raise money for cancer research. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Reach out to Steve if he can help you out with water mitigation and things of that nature. I'd also love to know what you think about these podcasts. You can leave a comment below if you want, or you can also hit me on Instagram at Jess from the Northwest. You can always email me too if you'd like to work together live at autographconstruction.com, and we'll see y'all next time.